Exercise S29. Analyzing the task that relates to the conversation. The woman expresses her opinion about the course replacement. State her opinion and explain the reasons she gives for that opinion. Exercise S32. Identifying important points in a reading passage. Now read a passage about an incident leading up to the American War of Independence. You have 45 seconds to read the passage. Begin reading now. Exercise S33. Identifying important points in a lecture. Now listen to part of a lecture on the background to the American War of Independence.
I'd like to address the questions of why the American colonists chose to dress as Indians and why they chose tea to dump overboard. Well, let's go back to why the British had imposed taxes on their colonies. Governments impose taxes to meet expenses. The French and Indian War was over after having doubled the British national debt and leaving the colonists in an economic crisis. Now, remember that the French and Indian War consisted of the French and Indians fighting the British and British colonists. To replenish the treasury, a scheme was passed in the British Parliament in which all goods had to be stamped, a stamp that had to be paid for. This was taxation without representation, and the British colonists wouldn't pay it. After a series of different imposed taxes were met by protests, riots, and boycotts, all taxes were eventually revoked, except for one on tea. Now I think you can see the significance of dressing as Indians, since the taxes stemmed from the French-Indian War, but also why it was tea that was thrown overboard.